Stonehenge, a place shrouded in mystery for over 5,000 years. Was it built by ancient astronomers, a site for human sacrifice? Or does it hide something far darker than history dares to reveal? Today we're uncovering the myths, legends, and hidden truths that historians, archaeologists, and even conspiracy theorists have debated for centuries. By the end, you'll know why Stonehenge still baffles the world and what secrets might finally unlock its true purpose. Imagine standing in the heart of the English countryside, where the wind whistles across open fields, carrying with it the echoes of a past too ancient to fully comprehend. Before you rises a circle of towering stones, each weighing several tons, some standing upright while others rest horizontally across the top like a gateway to another world. This is Stonehenge, one of the world's most iconic and mysterious monuments. But behind its familiar silhouette lies a labyrinth of secrets that have haunted historians, archaeologists, and dreamers for centuries. And today, we are about to peel back the layers of myth, legend, and hidden truths that surround this enigmatic structure. Stonehenge is older than the pyramids of Egypt, older than written language in Britain, and older than many of the civilizations we read about in history books. Yet we still don't know exactly why it was built, who placed these colossal stones here, or what purpose they served. The stones themselves, some dragged from nearly 200 miles away, seem to defy logic and reason. How could prehistoric people with no modern machinery manage to transport, shape, and arrange stones that weigh as much as 25 elephants? It's a question that has baffled experts for generations. But the mystery goes beyond the physical construction. For thousands of years, Stonehenge has been at the center of myths and wild theories. Some say it was a site of healing, a kind of ancient hospital where people came to be cured by the stone's supposed powers. Others claim it was built by giants, or even by the legendary wizard Merlin, who transported the stones from a far-off magical land. There are even those who believe Stonehenge was a landing site for beings not of this earth. What makes this mystery even deeper is the fact that Stonehenge wasn't built in one go. It evolved over nearly 1,000 years, with different generations adding, rearranging, and expanding it. It began as a simple earthwork circle, a ring of mounds and ditches, before eventually transforming into the towering stone monument we recognize today. Each phase seems to tell a different story, yet all the stories connect to something bigger, something we still don't fully understand. Scientists have studied the site for centuries, using everything from ancient records to modern scanning technology, yet the deeper we dig, the more questions arise. Stonehenge aligns with
the movements of the sun and the moon in ways too precise to be accidental. On the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises perfectly over the heel stone, marking the exact center of the monument. On the winter solstice, the setting sun aligns just as precisely in the opposite direction. Was this intentional? Were the builders primitive astronomers mapping the heavens, or were they creating a cosmic calendar to honor the gods of light and darkness? And then there's the strange sense of energy people claim to feel here. Modern visitors often describe Stonehenge as having a spiritual presence, as though the stones themselves hold memories of everything that has happened here across the millennia. Some even report unusual magnetic readings around the site, suggesting there might be hidden properties we still don't understand. Could it be that Stonehenge was more than just a temple or calendar, that it was a gateway between worlds, a place where the physical and spiritual realms connected? But the most unsettling part of the mystery is this. For all our science, for all our theories, there are no written records from the time Stonehenge was built. No instructions left behind. No carvings telling us its story. It stands there silent, ancient, as if daring us to guess its purpose, while keeping its secrets locked within those massive stones. Over the centuries, countless scholars, mystics, and explorers have tried to read its message, but the stones refuse to give up their answers easily. That's why Stonehenge captures our imagination like few other places on Earth. It stands at the intersection of history and legend, science and superstition, reality and myth. Every culture that came after its builders has projected its own beliefs onto the monument, turning it into a canvas for the human imagination. Pagan druids claimed it as their temple. Medieval chroniclers linked it to Arthurian magic. Modern researchers analyze its astronomical alignments. And yet, with every theory, the mystery only deepens. If the stones of Stonehenge could speak, they would whisper tales that blur the line between history and legend, reality and myth. For centuries, long before archaeologists in white coats arrived with their high-tech equipment, this mysterious circle of stones lived in the imagination of ordinary people who tried to make sense of its presence. And when facts were scarce, myths filled the silence. One of the oldest and most captivating legends connects Stonehenge to Merlin, the legendary wizard of Arthurian lore. Medieval chronicles tell us that Merlin, armed with magical powers, transported the massive stones from a faraway land called the Giants' Dance in Ireland. Some versions even claim giants brought the stones there first, and Merlin, using his cunning, moved them to the Salisbury Plain as a memorial to Britain's fallen warriors. Think about that for a moment. A wizard summoning supernatural strength to carry stones weighing dozens of tons across mountains and rivers. It sounds like pure fantasy, yet the legend persisted because it gave people an explanation at a time when no human method seemed possible. But Merlin wasn't the only supernatural figure tied to Stonehenge. Other tales suggest the stones themselves have a kind of living essence. People once believed they could speak, sing, or even move on their own at night. Stories circulated about travelers who camped near Stonehenge, hearing strange music in the wind, as if the stones were chanting to the stars. Some claimed to see them dance under the moonlight, rearranging themselves in the darkness before settling back into place by dawn. Folklore like this turned the monument into something almost alive, a being rather than a building. As though the stones carried a soul and a purpose we could never fully understand. Another enduring legend whispers that Stonehenge was built as a portal between worlds. Ancient people believed certain places on Earth connected the land of the living with the realm of the dead. And Stonehenge, with its circular design and eerie alignments, became one of these thresholds. Some claimed spirits passed through here during solstices, when the veil between worlds grew thin. This belief fed into rituals, offerings, and ceremonies that might have taken place under the midsummer sun or the long winter nights, when firelight flickered against the massive stones and shadows danced like ancient spirits returning home. And then there are the giants. Medieval writers, looking at those colossal stones, simply couldn't believe human hands could have placed them there. Instead, they told tales of a race of giants who roamed Britain in a forgotten age. According to some versions, these giants stacked the stones to mark sacred places or bury their dead. The idea of giants, of course, wasn't unique to Britain. Many ancient cultures explained megalithic structures in the same way. After all, when faced with something impossibly large and impossibly old, who else but giants could be responsible? Over time, Christian chroniclers in the Middle Ages tried to reinterpret these pagan and magical legends through their own lens. Some claimed Stonehenge was a site of devilish origin, a place where demons or dark forces might have gathered. Others believed it had healing properties granted by angels, as if heaven and hell had left competing fingerprints on the same stones. Pilgrims even chipped off pieces of rock, hoping to carry home a fragment of its supposed power. The myths didn't stop there. As centuries passed, Stonehenge became tied to the Druids, the mysterious priestly class of the ancient 19th century Romantics. Fascinated by Celtic mythology, painted pictures of white-robed Druids gathering at Stonehenge to perform elaborate rituals under the rising sun. Modern Druids still hold ceremonies there today, especially during the solstice. Even though archaeologists tell us the Druids arrived in Britain
thousands of years after Stonehenge was built. But sometimes myths outlive facts because they carry something facts often lack: mystery, magic, and meaning. Even now, with so much science devoted to understanding Stonehenge, these old legends refuse to die. They linger in books, in folklore, in the imaginations of visitors who walk among the stones at twilight and feel something ancient pressing against the edges of reality. Perhaps it's human nature to crave wonder, to believe that a place so strange must hold secrets beyond the reach of logic. For all the beauty and mystery surrounding Stonehenge, there's a far darker side to its legend, a side that hints at rituals, sacrifices, and ceremonies that might have turned these quiet fields into a stage for the unthinkable. As the sun rises perfectly over the Heelstone on Midsummer's morning or sinks into the horizon on the winter solstice, many visitors feel awe, wonder, maybe even peace. But some historians, looking at the evidence and the whispers of ancient folklore, suggest these alignments weren't just for observing the sky. They might have marked dates of blood, moments when life was given up in exchange for something people believed was far greater. Archaeologists have unearthed human remains in and around Stonehenge, some dating back thousands of years. Skeletal evidence shows signs of trauma skulls cracked, bones broken. Were these people victims of war, disease, or something far more ritualistic? It's here that theories begin to spiral into darker territory. Some researchers believe Stonehenge could have been a place where human sacrifices were performed to appease ancient gods or forces tied to the sun, the moon, and the cycles of life and death. Imagine the scene, a gathering of people under the glow of firelight, chanting as priests or shamans carried out ceremonies on the longest day of the year, offering blood to ensure the return of the sun after the winter's cold or to bless the coming harvest. The circular design of Stonehenge has often been compared to other ritual sites across the ancient world, places where alignments with the heavens were deeply tied to spiritual beliefs. But unlike temples built for beauty or worship alone, Stonehenge carries an energy some describe as heavy, almost foreboding. Could this be because it witnessed rituals that blended reverence with fear? Ceremonies where life itself was the price paid to keep the balance between the people and the powerful forces they believed ruled the universe? Even more chilling is the possibility that Stonehenge wasn't just for sacrifices to the gods, but perhaps to send messages to the dead. Some scholars point to evidence that Stonehenge functioned as part of a broader sacred landscape, connected to nearby sites like Durrington Walls, where ancient people lived, feasted, and performed rituals. The River Avon, winding its way between these places, may have symbolized the passage between the world of the living and the land of the dead. Stonehenge, sitting at the end of this journey, could have been the final stop, a place where offerings, maybe even human lives, were given as the ultimate gift to ancestors or deities beyond the veil. Folklore certainly embraced this darker possibility. Medieval chroniclers described Stonehenge as a place of druidic rites long before modern archaeology existed to challenge or confirm their claims. They wrote of bonfires blazing inside the stone circle, of figures in robes performing secretive ceremonies under the stars. Some even hinted at blood spilled on the altar stones, lives taken to harness the energy of the cosmos or to honor gods now long forgotten. While modern historians debate whether Druids had anything to do with Stonehenge at all, the image of those rituals has burned itself into popular imagination, fed by centuries of speculation and romanticism. Adding to this aura of darkness are the strange acoustic properties of the stones themselves. Studies have shown that when people stand inside the circle, the sound carries in eerie, almost otherworldly ways. A single voice can seem to echo, magnified and distorted, as if the stones themselves are participating in the ritual. Now imagine that same space thousands of years ago, filled with the sounds of drums, chants, maybe even cries. It turned Stonehenge from a passive monument into a living theater of ritual power, where sound, fire, stone, and sacrifice all blended together under the open sky. And then there are the stories, half legend, half rumor, that persist to this day. Some say the altar stone in the center of Stonehenge, stained red by minerals in the rock, was once stained by something far more disturbing. Others claim animals were sacrificed here, their blood soaking into the chalky ground as prayers rose to the heavens. A few go even further, suggesting that on rare and powerful nights when the stars aligned just right, human lives were given as the ultimate tribute. No one can prove it beyond doubt, but the idea refuses to fade away, clinging to the monument like a shadow. Modern pagans and druids who gather at Stonehenge today see it as a place of peace, of connection to nature and ancient wisdom. Yet even they acknowledge that our ancestors may have walked a path where reverence and fear blurred together, where honoring the forces of life sometimes demanded confronting the reality of death. And so, when people come to watch the solstice sun rise over those ancient stones, there's always the question lingering silently in the background. What really happened here, on this ground, under this same sky, thousands of years ago, when the world was younger and the gods seemed closer? When we look at Stonehenge today, standing silent against the sky, it's easy to see it only as a monument of stone. But what if these towering rocks were more than just an ancient temple or ceremonial site? What if they were a blueprint, a tool of knowledge, maybe even a cosmic map, left behind by people who understood the universe far better than we think they did? Because as researchers have studied this strange circle of stones, they've found something both unsettling and awe-inspiring. Stonehenge seems to hold secrets written not in words but in the language of the stars. The very first clue comes with the rising and setting of the sun. On the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises perfectly over the heelstone, casting its first rays straight into the heart of the monument. On the winter solstice, the darkest and shortest day, the sun sets with equal precision in the opposite direction. These alignments are so exact, so mathematically perfect, that they couldn't have happened by chance. The builders of Stonehenge clearly understood the cycles of the sun and how to record them in stone. But that's only the beginning. Archaeologists and astronomers studying the site have realized that Stonehenge could have acted like a massive calendar, one capable of tracking not only the solstices but also eclipses, lunar phases, and the changing seasons. Some even call it the world's first computer, built not with metal gears or glass screens but with stone pillars and sightlines to the sky. By watching how the sun and moon rose and set in relation to the stones, ancient people could have predicted important celestial events, moments that might have guided when to plant crops, when to prepare for winter, or when to hold sacred ceremonies. But here's where things get even stranger. The precision of Stonehenge rivals some of the greatest ancient observatories on Earth. Sites like Chichen Itza in Mexico or the pyramids of Egypt, also align with celestial events, suggesting that across the ancient world, people were building structures that connected heaven and earth in ways modern historians still can't fully explain. Was this knowledge shared somehow? Did early civilizations have a far deeper understanding of astronomy than we give them credit for? Or, as some more radical thinkers propose, did this knowledge come from somewhere or someone else entirely? Because Stonehenge doesn't just track the sun. Some researchers believe it also encodes knowledge about the moon's complex cycles, including something called the lunar standstill, a rare event occurring only once every 18.6 years when the moon rises and sets at its furthest points along the horizon. To recognize such a pattern requires not only watching the sky for decades, but also having the ability to record and transmit that information across generations. That means the people who built Stonehenge weren't just laborers moving rocks. They were scientists, astronomers, mathematicians, people who looked at the universe with curiosity and intellect, seeking patterns in the chaos of the cosmos. And yet, as impressive as this is, there's an air of mystery around why this knowledge was so important. Why go to such lengths to mark the solstices, to map the heavens, to carve this cosmic clock into the earth itself? Some scholars suggest it was purely practical, a way to guide agriculture and survival in a world ruled by the seasons. Others argue it was spiritual, that the builders believed celestial bodies carried divine power, and aligning their monuments with the movements of the sky allowed them to honor or even communicate with the gods. Then there are the theories that step beyond conventional history. Some point out that other ancient sites with astronomical alignments often sit on what are called ley lines mysterious, straight paths that some believe connect places of spiritual or energetic significance across the globe. Stonehenge lies on one of these lines, along with ancient burial mounds, sacred springs, and other enigmatic structures. Was this coincidence, or did ancient people sense energies in the earth that modern science hasn't yet explained? And let's not forget the legends claiming Stonehenge was built with knowledge given by visitors from the stars. It sounds like science fiction, yet this idea refuses to disappear. Supporters of this theory argue that many ancient monuments around the world share impossible precision, advanced astronomical understanding, and mysterious origins. Could it be that Stonehenge, like the pyramids or the Nazca lines, was part of a network of sites meant to connect humanity with the cosmos or perhaps with beings beyond it? Even mainstream scientists admit we still don't have all the answers. Modern technology has revealed hidden features beneath the ground pits, post holes, and other structures surrounding Stonehenge that suggest it was part of a much larger and more complex design than anyone realized before. Some of these underground features also align with celestial events, reinforcing the idea that Stonehenge wasn't just a random collection of rocks. It was a place of knowledge, a meeting point between earth and sky, where ancient people tried to understand their place in a vast, mysterious universe even after centuries of study. Even after the drones, the ground-penetrating radar, the 3D scans, and the tireless excavations, Stonehenge continues to guard its secrets like a stubborn sentinel of time. In recent decades, modern science has peeled back layers of earth, analyzed ancient remains, and mapped every stone and ditch with precision. Yet what we've found only deepens the mystery instead of solving it. It's as though the monument teases us, giving us fragments of answers while keeping the bigger picture hidden just out of reach. Take, for instance, the discovery of hundreds of burial mounds scattered around the wider Stonehenge landscape. Some date back thousands of years, and many contain cremated remains, pottery, tools, and ornaments. These findings tell us that Stonehenge wasn't standing alone in the wilderness, but was part of a thriving, complex society with traditions and beliefs stretching across generations. Yet the people buried here were not ordinary villagers. Evidence suggests many of them came from far away, some even from as far as Wales, the source of the smaller bluestones used in the inner circle of Stonehenge. Why would people travel such vast distances to be buried near this monument? What drew them here? Was it faith, power, or something more mysterious that made Stonehenge a kind of spiritual magnet for centuries? And then there's the revelation about the stones themselves. For a long time, historians believed the giant sarsen stones making up the outer circle came from nearby quarries. But studies have traced them to a site nearly 20 miles away, still a staggering distance considering their weight. The smaller blue stones, on the other hand, were hauled from the Preseli Hills in Wales, roughly 180 miles from Stonehenge. This discovery stunned researchers. Moving stones weighing up to 4 tons across rivers, hills, and plains without wheels or iron tools seems almost impossible. Some theories suggest they were dragged on sledges and rafts. Others whisper about lost technologies or knowledge we no longer understand. Whatever the truth, it forces us to rethink what Neolithic people were capable of and what drove them to achieve such feats. Recent excavations have also revealed that Stonehenge wasn't alone. Beneath the surrounding fields, researchers have uncovered traces of massive wooden structures, processional routes, and even a possible superhenge at nearby Durrington Walls, an enormous circular monument made of either wood or stone that would have dwarfed Stonehenge itself. All of this suggests a vast ceremonial landscape, a sacred network of sites connected by roads, rivers, and sightlines to the stars. But what rituals unfolded here? What myths were told under these ancient skies? The ground keeps its silence, offering only fragments for us to piece together. Even stranger are the magnetic and acoustic anomalies reported at the site. Some visitors and researchers claim Stonehenge seems to hum with energy, as though the stones themselves hold some kind of natural resonance. Tests have shown the rocks used at Stonehenge produce distinct sounds when struck, almost like giant musical instruments. Was this intentional? Could the builders have understood sound in ways we've forgotten, turning the stone circle into not just a visual monument but an auditory one, a place where rituals merged light, shadow, and music into a single experience? And then there are the human remains. Studies of skeletons found near Stonehenge reveal signs of disease, injury, and long journeys from distant lands. Some had bones showing signs of healing after serious illnesses, suggesting they came here seeking cures, perhaps believing the stones possessed powers of life and death. Others show evidence of violent injuries, feeding darker theories of sacrifice or conflict tied to the site. Were these people pilgrims, victims, or honored dead brought to rest in the shadow of the stones? The evidence allows for every possibility without confirming any single one. Even with all this modern knowledge, one question haunts archaeologists more than any other. Why did the building stop? Around 1600 BCE, construction at Stonehenge abruptly ended. The site wasn't torn down or abandoned violently, it simply fell silent. People stopped hauling stones, stopped digging ditches, stopped aligning their monuments to the sky. The ceremonies, whatever they were, ceased. And no one knows why. Did beliefs change? Did the culture collapse? Did something happen here that made people turn away from the monument they had built over centuries? That silence speaks louder than any legend, as if the place itself closed its doors on history, leaving only questions behind. Today, millions visit Stonehenge every year, circling the weathered stones, reading the plaques, taking their photos. Scientists continue to analyze the soil, the bones, the stones themselves, looking for patterns and clues. And yet, despite everything we've learned, the alignments, the burials, the construction techniques, Stonehenge keeps its ultimate secret. It gives us pieces of the puzzle, but never the whole picture, as though some truths are meant to stay buried beneath the chalky earth or locked in the cold silence of those ancient stones. As the sun dips below the horizon and the last golden rays stretch across the Salisbury Plain, Stonehenge stands exactly as it has for millennia, silent, unyielding, watching centuries of human history pass like fleeting shadows. We've uncovered the myths that wrapped it in magic, the legends that filled it with giants and wizards, the rituals that may have brought blood to its stones, the cosmic alignments that turned it into a monument of the heavens, and the modern discoveries that peel back its layers one by one. Yet after all the digging, all the theories, all the whispers from the past, one truth remains: Stonehenge refuses to give up all its secrets. Perhaps that's why it holds us spellbound. It reminds us that even in an age of satellites and supercomputers, some mysteries remain too vast, too ancient, too sacred to solve completely. Maybe its builders wanted it this way, a riddle carved in stone, a bridge between earth and sky, life and death, myth and memory. And so, as the winds of time keep sweeping across these ancient fields, Stonehenge continues to stand in silence, daring us to keep asking questions, daring us to search for answers in the shadows of its towering stones.